Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Mike Typhon.
I guess I'm Ken.
We've got another interview we always have interviews for you. And it's really cool because we're kind of in this stretch, though I think this is the last one of this series, of people coming back on the show to talk about books that they first promoted on the show. Mm-hmm. Like kind of like almost like a bookend, like, hey, let's talk about the debut. Hey, this is the first volume. Because that's what we're doing with Brian Buccellato, Jennifer Young, and Matias Bergara this week, talking about their Image Comics horror series, Cannibal, which is, it's pretty fucking sweet. In fact, the book review's out now.
No way.
Yep. But let's let them talk about it.
Sure.
And joining us this week, we've got Brian Buccellato and Jennifer Young. This is kind of a bookend of sorts because we had them back on, I suppose, the end of August for the first issue of Cannibal, and here we are, like 6 months later, talking about the first volume, which comes out in comic book shops everywhere on Wednesday, March 8th. Collects the first 4 issues. Guys, thanks for coming back on.
Woohoo!
Absolutely.
So, in reading this first volume, without giving too much away, the last time you guys were on, we kind of talked about it not being like despite the cannibalism, as the title would infer, it isn't really like a zombie story so much as less Walking Dead, more Salem's Lot. There's almost like this idea that there's a consciousness there, there's a sense of regret there, and some people in Willow are not what they seem.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of hitting the nail on the head.
It's
not a zombie story.
Yeah, not at all. Were those some of your influences? I mean, I remember you guys mentioning it came from an idea of Jennifer's about 7 years ago, but what were some of the, I guess, kind of horror tropes that you guys had kind of going into this?
I mean, I think there are some tonal influences, like I feel like it's True Blood meets Bloodline. So it has, because people are eating people, like there's absolutely no way to avoid being campy. But ultimately, at its core, it's about family. So, the drama is more so than the horror, I would say.
Yeah, I think we were trying to stay away from tropes as much as we could, because it's really a story about family and about a community. And, of course, the really messed up virus.
Was there's a lot of small town drama going here. You guys were mentioning Bloodline, so a lot of like family drama too. I feel like you guys really, certainly with a title like Cannibal, there's going to be people eaten. There's going to be tons of blood, tons of gore. Though you guys aren't fixated as much on the violence as you guys are the tension leading up to it. That kind of like just that slow burn. So when it does go off, it goes off like a party popper. So I there's a definite sense of pace that you guys have going on here. What was it that really, Matias kind of brought to that project? Because he really makes that work. What kind of drew you guys to him as an artist?
Well, I think, his work on Sons of Anarchy was really good. And that whole story is about drama. So we knew that
the storytelling was there.
The storytelling would be there. I think it also it happens when we write a script and deliver it to Matias. A lot of times, especially when it comes to the more gory scenes or where somebody gets eaten, we're very strategic in, like, we call it out like shots for a movie, and we're very strategic in like how gory,
what we show, what we don't show,
like how bloody we want it to be. And I think it was doing a lot of, like less POV and more like over the shoulder stuff, where we would see, we know what the character's doing, but we weren't exactly seeing every single thing.
Yeah, and I think as far as his what drew us to him, you could tell he knew how to tell a story from Sons of Anarchy. But if you look at like his commissions and some of his other art, I knew he was a better artist than he was allowed to be on that monthly. And oftentimes when you're rushed, and you've got to hit deadlines, and he had to do likenesses, I felt like he was going to be better than he was on Sons of Anarchy. And I think we proved ourselves right, because he's really good, and he knows how to take our script and just sort of run with it.
Now, speaking of the art, for the listeners at home that aren't in the know, Brian, you also do the colors on Cannibal.
Isn't he good?
It's pretty awesome, right? Now,
He was the only colorist I wanted.
Well, thank you. You know, I did it for a practical reason. Doing indie comics, you try to keep the cost down, because the lower the costs, the more likely you are to be able to continue your book. So for me, it was mostly a function of I don't have to pay a colorist if I do it myself.
what was it? I mean, in terms of art style, a lot of the action in Cannibal, despite being a horror book, a lot of horror books seem to kind of take place at night. A lot of Cannibal takes place during the day. So what is it trying to capture that color scheme, trying to maintain that sense of ominousness? Is that did I just make?
I think it's omniscicity.
Okay, yes, it sounds better than what I was going. Yeah. So yeah, with the color scheme, what are you trying to? Because there's a lot of shadow and there's a lot of light at the same time, since you guys are working during the day.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that really good psychological horror can take place in bright places. So I feel like rather than just sort of settling on nighttime, because it does have horrific elements, putting that sense of foreboding out in the middle of the day, in some ways, is more effective. And the way he draws shadows, there's still plenty of mood. So juxtaposing sort of bright yellow sun with some of the terrible things that are going on, it just seemed interesting to me, like an interesting choice.
Now, Jennifer, this is, I mean, you had done editing duties on Sons of the Devil, but this is really your first, major published comic as a writer. Now that you've got a full-on story arc under your belt, what are some of the things you've kind of learned, like writing for comics as opposed to writing for prose? Just kind of looking back, and how has that kind of informed your storytelling moving forward?
I think I've learned, well, don't procrastinate, because once it's out there, the next book has to come out. I've also learned that whole storytelling technique, when you're communicating with an artist and not sort of holding back on your descriptions. And it's not like writing a script for television or film. It's different because you're really communicating with another person who's going to make it happen.
It's a conversation.
Yeah. I think I've learned, to think ahead before Cannibal. A lot of the stuff that I like to work on, it was just ideas or pieces. Like Cannibal had many different forms before it was a comic book. It was a short story, and then it was prose, and then it was, a screenplay, and oddly came from a poem, and the medium I always wanted it to be in was in comic books. So I guess I feel like I learned that. Like I learned how to write comic books.
It's a very specific skill for sure.
Well, I feel like, I mean, as someone, both of you guys have written for screen. Brian, I believe congratulations are in order. I think since we last talked, you've got the Universal Writing Fellowship.
Yep.
So congrats there. What is that, if I can ask? What does that entail?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
It's really cool because he just gets to go to work at Universal Studios and write.
Correct. On a sort of a macro level, it's there's 5 of us who it was an open sort of submission where you had to submit a script and a couple of references, professional references, and then when you made the second round or the semifinals, you had to submit a second feature script, and then they made a top 10, and once I was selected in the top 10, we all sort of were interviewed by a lot of different executives and people at Universal Pictures, and I just ended up being one of the lucky 5. And so we're writing 2 scripts over the course of a year. It's a paid fellowship, so I'm getting paid to write. For those of you who are wondering why I abruptly left Injustice, it's because I couldn't continue to work on DC Comics because they're owned by Warner Brothers while I'm working at Universal. So for me, obviously, as much as I didn't want to leave Injustice, I want to write film. So it was a no-brainer for me to make that choice. And so, we've had a lot of meetings. We've met with a lot of people at Universal, and I'm I think 3/4 through my first script. It's got to be turned in March 7th, so I'm going to be doing a lot of screenwriting between now and then.
A lot of long nights.
Yeah, but I don't mind it. I enjoy writing.
Sure. Is the script? The last time you guys were on the show, we talked about a B slasher film you guys had conceived called Everglade.
It's done.
Well, the first draft is done. No script is ever done.
It's gonna get one more rewrite, and we're gonna submit it for the Bloodlist, which is the horror version of the Blacklist. Scripts that didn't get picked up or didn't get bought, but are awesome. Go to the Blacklist the Blacklist.
The Blacklist, yeah. That's for those who don't know, the Blacklist is this sort of collection of scripts that go around town, and every year they sort of get voted on. The scripts the spec scripts that people in the industry see, and sort of the top, I don't know if it's 50 or whatever, end up on the Blacklist. So it's a big honor to be on the Blacklist, and the Bloodlist is the horror version of that. So yeah, that one we're definitely going to try for. We also wrote. I wrote an indie psychological horror that I'm looking for financing for right now. So hopefully that happens. And for Universal, they gave us a prompt, so I'm actually writing a action adventure, which is a little out of my wheelhouse, but I'm trying.
Well, I mean, I feel like you had the action, at least in the superhero realm, very well covered with, say, the Flash or the Detective Comics sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it. I think obviously my sensibilities are a little more, crime, thriller, horror. So that's why I say it's just a little bit out of my wheelhouse.
Now, Jennifer, you're from Florida. What do you think it is between Cannibal and Everglade that makes the Everglades so damn spooky?
I mean, there's something so every town or city or even country for that matter has its things that are unique to itself. But in Florida, when I was growing up, as a kid, I didn't have an iPhone, obviously, so it was you go outside, that's what you do, and you come in when the street lights come on, and it wasn't unlikely to see snakes and alligators, or when you go outside, it's oh, be careful, cross the street, look both ways. But in my town, it was watch out for snakes, watch out for alligators. That to me is really spooky, and there's something that's so isolating about the Everglades, and you're there with these creatures, ancient creatures like alligators and pythons, and I don't know, I think the spookiness sort of speaks for itself.
Kind of get that Southern Gothic thing going too, with the sprawling plantation style mansions and everything. Mm-hmm. Very, I guess, Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take the credit.
I think didn't we talk about that last time? I thought we did. That's
about Texas Chainsaw.
That's your favorite movie.
Yeah, because we always prompt horror writers who their favorite slasher is, and I remember you went with Michael Myers and Jen went with Leatherface.
Right.
Because nobody haven't had any Freddy fans, unfortunately, I don't think.
Freddy's just too...
He's very campy.
He's always smiling, I don't know. And I think I don't buy into the whole... Look, Wes Craven is a god, okay? There's probably nobody else better than Wes, but I don't know. Freddy's just not creepy to me. I don't buy the I have to go to sleep first thing. It never, my mom used to say you should be afraid to go to sleep, but I guess I sleep too much. It's if and then once I was asleep, I was fine.
Well, clearly you were a dream warrior, so you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah. If Dokken taught us anything.
I have had Leatherface nightmares, though.
What do you think it is about Leatherface that elevates him above the standard slasher fare?
I think he's the most humane. Like, he's the most humanized version of all these serial killers. Like, there's a moment in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think it's where one of the people like got away and he couldn't catch them, and he sits down in the window of the living room and there's a close up on his face, and it's like literally a couple seconds, and it's human emotion. And I think he's, sad because he let his family down. Like, he has like a role to play in his family, and that's, take care of the trespassers and put food on the table. That's why, like, the face that he's wearing at dinner time has like he wears an apron and the face has makeup on it because he's supposed to be like the woman of the house making dinner for everyone. It's twisted, but I think he's the closest thing to a human. And the reason why that's scary for me is because I think if the scariest thing is if you if you think that you could convince your killer not to kill you, and that means you stand a chance. Like, if I'm going up against Michael Myers, who comes back from the dead every time, or if I'm going up against the Poltergeist or
Freddy,
the Exorcist, like something that's like borderline paranormal, like I've just accepted that I'm screwed. But if I'm going up against someone who's closer to me, I think I have a chance because maybe I can convince them not to kill me, and that is terrifying.
Kind of get like, as Leatherface watches them flee from his window, you get the Incredible Hulk piano theme playing in the background.
Well, he's also a man, right? He's not supernatural.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Leatherface hasn't been proper killed in any of the Texas Chainsaw, like, whereas like Jason will always die, quote unquote, then they, or I guess there's that one time where he straight up gets like pinned against a boulder.
The first couple Friday the 13th movies, excluding the first one, of course, he just kind of like gets hurt, and then like in the next movie they retcon it, where it looked like he was dead at the end of the movie. They retcon it to be like, oh no, he crawled away and just gave up on that one girl.
So I feel like a lot of times lightning's involved or something, like jumpstart his battery.
By like the sixth one, it was lightning.
Now, did that kind of inform some of the stuff going on in Cannibal? Because all of the cannibals are very much human. There's still, they have that sentience, they have that sense of regret, or at least most of them seem to, and they still have that human connection.
Yeah, that was exactly the point. That was the goal. And it was maybe like 20%, just making sure everybody gets the difference between this and The Walking Dead. And then it was about 80% where the story naturally came from, like a form of commentary on disease and illness. Like it was an absolute must that these people were just like you and I.
We also don't have that many kills in the first volume.
Yeah.
1, 2, what we got? 3, I think? Maybe 4? 4. I think we have 4 kills. There
is, without giving the game away, a very big... You guys end at a crossroads. I'll just...
Yes.
Yeah.
Did that work for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a heartbreaking element to what, again, I don't want to go into specifics about what goes down, but you do have... In a lot of ways, I think horror movies can't, including slasher movies, can't have that happy ending, right? Because if everything, be it a story arc or be it a film in a long-running series like Friday the 13th, which has, counting the remake and counting Freddy vs. Jason, 12 entries now?
Yes.
I think the one that's in development right now is 13.
I think they just canceled that, too.
It's been backburnered. I don't know about official canceled, but yeah, it's been...
It's the worst. When I saw that headline that it was pushed back again, days away from starting principal photography, I was outraged. I was like, who isn't doing this right? Let me do it for you.
Yeah.
Let me do this. Like, let's do this.
I was like, I am ready to make my Hollywood debut if it means that this movie gets made.
Yeah. I can at least guarantee it'll be better than The New Blood.
Ooh!
Maybe Jason Takes Manhattan, but I will throw in Jason punching a dude's head off if it makes everybody happy.
Yeah.
I love Jason Takes Manhattan because you've never seen Manhattan depicted like that before.
Like Toronto?
Like
Yes.
they get off the boat and people are just like laying in the streets shooting up. Like, what is going on? Like, where?
But Jackie Chan did a movie where I believe, I don't know if it was Toronto or Vancouver, but Rumble in the Bronx.
I love that movie. Yeah,
didn't look anything like
the Bronx.
New York.
No. It didn't even look like Chinatown, which isn't even close to the Bronx.
Different borough.
Right? Yeah, those two are not very close.
Now with well, no, continue, please.
That one Jason, there was that one Friday the 13th movie where, obviously not the first one, but where it wasn't Jason at all for an entire movie.
That's
the New Blood.
New Blood. Yeah, that's New Blood.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Isn't like Corey Haim or
Corey
one of the
Feldman. Corey Feldman is in part 4.
Right? Corey Feldman?
Yeah.
Well, it was him, but he was also in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Didn't he grow up to become? No.
No. Corey Feldman plays the first iteration as a child of the. I can't remember his name, but he's
Roy.
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not Roy, because Roy's the copycat. Corey Feldman doesn't play Roy. That's gonna bother me. But yeah, he. But that character is played by 3 different actors in 3 subsequent movies. He's actually the one that accidentally brings Jason back to life with the lightning bolt.
Yes, exactly.
The impromptu lightning rod. He Frankenstein's him, or Frankenstein monsters him. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, he Frankenstein's.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
But yeah, to get back, I feel like horror stories, and including, again, without going to specifics, this volume can't have like a happy ending, because if everything ends on a happy note, it's like, oh, then it wasn't that bad. But then you kind of keep going, and you're like, oh, this shit's got to go south. And you've got the Corey Feldman name?
Yeah, it's Tommy Jarvis.
Okay, cool. We're good.
I violently like stood straight up, and Sam was like, "Oh no." So I'm in the middle of doing a Friday the 13th podcast, so I feel like I should know these things.
The happy ending thing? Where is it? Yeah. I mean, it sort of feels like the end of an arc in a comic series. Sort of feels like the end of a season of a television show. Like, I guess nobody, like, you have to incite drama
for the next season
to move forward. Right. You know.
Well, speaking of the future, I mean, there hasn't been a solicitation for Cannibal number 5. When do you guys kind of anticipate a return?
Well, I mean, the way it works at Image, generally, it's your last issue, month off, trade, month off, and then you start back up. So May will be the next issue, issue 5.
Is there going to be does it pick up right after the end of the first arc? Is there a time jump?
It actually does pick up right after.
Literally that very moment.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And that character will be, I think, a bigger part of the second volume. I think it switches gears a little. It shifts a little bit, and that character will definitely, we'll find out more about what happened, sort of.
So are we going to kind of get flashbacks parallel to some of the events of the first?
We're going to get some flashbacks for sure, yeah.
With a protagonist like Cash, I mean, kind of charging in, kind of pulls like a Colin Farrell True Detective where he beats the shit out of somebody in front of their kid. Are we going to kind of, because that was such just a kind of a hothead protagonist. So are we? You guys really do hit the ground running now that I'm thinking about this. Like a guy gets eaten from like jump with this story. So are we going to kind of see a more slower pace, or is it still that kind of high octane stuff going to go into arc 2?
What were you going to say?
I think the pace is going to be similar. I think we have our slow moments, and then we need to, we like to ramp up and have something impactful happen in every issue. So there's going to be the moments where you have the action or the horror or the kill
But it's not like we're like, oh, nothing dramatic has happened in this issue. It's like we have a bunch of bullet points that are like story points that are like high intensity plot points, and it's like, how do we make these all work together but like strategically lined up? And I think personally, I feel different. I feel like Volume 2 is going to be much more intense.
No, I'm just saying, pacing wise, I
slow
think it'll be
burn.
the same though. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
In terms of a lot of this first arc, obviously explores this kind of small town drama within Willow, within all these characters that have this like, there's pent up tension there. There's history there. Are we going to? Though there's been implications about the cannibal virus affecting the greater parts of the country. Are we going to see? Are we going to stick to Willow, or are we going to start to see more of the outside world?
Yeah, the first three volumes is a story that's self-contained. So much like Fargo, takes place in Fargo in its timeline. We don't really have plans to venture outside, especially not until we're done with this story arc.
Sure. Now, it just occurs to me, Brian. We talked to Jen at length about Leatherface. What is it about Mike Myers that elevates him among the slashers for you?
Well, I think because of my age. I remember being my mom's friend took me to see Rocky 2 in the theater, and the trailer for Halloween was in the front of that, and it scared the crap out of me. And I think when I finally saw it, and then seeing it every year at Halloween after or whatever, it always freaked me out. Like, I was scared of Michael Myers as a little kid, and so he just stuck with me more than any other one. And then that face, like the blank staring face to me is the scariest thing. The hockey mask doesn't really scare me. I didn't see Leatherface till I was a little bit older, so he didn't have the same impact. I felt Freddy was a little bit hokey, but that blank Michael Myers mask, I don't know. It got me.
Kind of I guess it's just the William Shatner mask, the bleached William Shatner mask with the hollowed out eyes.
Painted white and run over, right?
Yeah. Though, is it by Halloween 3 where they're just using like a retail 4?
Yeah, I was about to say 3.
3 is the weird one that has nothing to do with Halloween and with Michael Myers at all.
That's
Silver Shamrock.
Season of the Witch. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, by 4 they
the
had
shape looks terrible.
Yeah, because they had made their own mask instead of using a mask that already existed.
Yeah, he looks fine in Halloween 2 now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway,
because it's probably the same mask.
Yeah. But yeah, so May we can expect the return of Cannibal. Like you guys had kind of touched on this, this first story arc, or Cannibal also explores the stigmatization. I just can't enunciate words at all today that are more than 3 syllables.
It's the stigmatude.
The stigmatude.
Stigmosity.
Yeah, stigmosity of illness and
the stigmata of illness.
Well, stigmata. Let's not get Catholic about the whole thing.
That was the joke.
Wait, but I actually have a interesting Cannibal Halloween connection, which is, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it just occurred to me. In issue 5, there is a rest stop as a location, and the reference I used was the rest stop from Halloween H2O, because when I saw that movie, when that movie came out, that scene scared the crap out of me. It was where the little girl and her mom go in to use the loo at the rest stop, and it's a creepy rest stop, and he's there, and the little girl screams, and then her mom goes in and she's like, "It was a spider," and then they're okay, but it was really scary at the time.
Yeah.
Doesn't he drive a car in that one?
Yeah. He steals their car.
That was the movie that introduced me to the Halloween series.
Wow. So, are you 19 now?
No, I just didn't see the Halloween movies. No.
Just kidding.
That cherubic face of his.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you went back. John is the man.
Yeah, he is.
At least it wasn't Curse of Mike Myers.
Right.
But well, shoot, what was it? Oh, stigmata. No, not stigmata. The stigmatism of
Yes, all the eye things in this story.
yes, yeah, of like illness and perhaps more specifically mental illness. Is that a theme we'll kind of see going into the second arc as well?
I mean, I think it'll stay true only because the cannibal virus does, it's not going anywhere right now. And it's ultimately it's a threat throughout the entire story. So it's really what it does to you. Like that's the stigma. So yeah, I think it's
I think it's more in sort of a overarching like cloud that hangs over the town. I don't know that we're specifically going to speak to the stigma, but we're portraying it through the eyes of the townsfolk, right? I mean, obviously we've seen how they treated Danny, and so like those are going to be the ways that we explore those sorts of things.
Sure. Oh yeah, I was just wondering, given though we see people that maybe are infected before, and yet they maintain their mental faculties. So it was very interesting. I was wondering the longer they would, be affected, if that would kind of degrade their faculties over time.
Yeah, I think what's interesting and what's important to me to show in this story is I think they're more affected but not by what they have to do to survive, but the fact that now they're among the infected. Like that, what that does to you mentally, like how you view yourself from that point on. Not a matter of what the cannibal virus makes you do. Like, sure, some will battle with killing people, but then it comes much easier when you realize that that's what you have to do to survive, and you get choosy, and you're like, well, if I had to kill someone to eat them, who would I want, that to be? And then people are prejudging other people's value of life. But I think it's really how you view yourself that sort of deteriorates them mentally.
Now, something, as you guys may recall, that we ask everybody that comes on the show, what are you guys currently geeking out over?
What are we geeking out? I mean, oddly enough,
this is going to sound weird.
This Is Us.
The TV show This Is Us?
With Milo Ventimiglia?
Yes. Have you seen it?
No, I did see him in like Gilmore Girls. He got jacked for some reason.
He's jacked in this.
It's ridiculously good.
Yeah. I'm not Mr. like family drama, but the writing is so good, and that cast is amazing. And there's also like a dual narrative, past and present. That's in the story. That's really cool. So it's not like your typical family drama.
Does it? So it lives up to the hype. It pulls those heartstrings with all due force.
Every episode.
Yeah, every episode's good. I think beyond that, I'm working on my thesis right now, which is a feature-length script that Brian wrote, and there's a lot of research that goes into it. It's all about like how can we get this movie made, and all the research I have to do like a lot of background work on comparable titles, like films that are similar, whether it's through the cast or through the budget or through like, creatively. And I sort of feel like I'm geeking out on a lot of the comparable titles. Like I had never seen Out of the Furnace, and it didn't do well, but I think it's an awesome film. I had never seen Place Beyond the Pines, and I think it's a perfect film. So I'm really sort of geeking out over my own work. That sounds bad.
No, I mean, I feel like if you weren't, it would be like the biggest slog in the world. I mean, as someone that's done the grad school thing, if you don't like what you're writing about, you feel every sentence trying to hit that page count.
I think we're both geeking out about what's going to happen on March 10th.
Kong, Skull Island.
Oh.
See, when I see the film poster, I like go into a stupor. I'm like, duh, I just can't stop staring at it, and I'm just can't wait. I'm so freaking excited.
Yeah. A friend who I really trust saw it and said it's awesome.
Well, they're trying to position Kong for, I guess this showdown with Godzilla in what 2020 or something like that.
Okay, guys, can we talk about that? I just don't get it. Like, Kong, okay, he's the man. He's pretty agile. He can go from like tree to here. He has human emotion. We've already talked about that. Godzilla, he's not that fast, and he just breathes fire. Like, am I missing something?
But she's never really seen Godzilla.
I get it though.
So you don't get it if you haven't seen. You've never seen.
Like,
she's never seen Godzilla fight Mothra or
Godzilla.
Any of the other monsters that
I just don't see him being that threatening. Like, he has no idea that I'm even a potential enemy.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all.
I don't believe it.
Godzilla protects the people.
He's like a lesser T-Rex to me.
No, he's about 75 million times bigger than a T-Rex.
Has she only seen the Matthew Broderick Godzilla?
Don't
Is
be
that
around
why?
buildings.
The Matthew Broderick Godzilla. We don't speak that's name, which is to say
Oh,
Godzilla.
no, that one's awful. That one's a T-Rex. That one is the one Godzilla that's a T-Rex.
I mean,
Mecha Godzilla he fights. I mean, like, there's so many awesome.
That's my
Caesar.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla in 1972. But I mean, there's I guess there was Godzilla vs. King Kong in the 60s, where
Yeah, no, I've seen, and that one when King Kong got
that.
struck by lightning or electricity, he grew.
he does.
I
He gets like he gets supercharged like Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
totally.
either way, whatever they're setting up, they're basically setting up Godzilla to
Fight King Kong.
to bite the dust. Like, Kong's gonna destroy him.
I don't think it'll be that easy. You know that Godzilla was created with like nuclear waste, and so like that's not just fire it's breathing. It's like this nuclear.
And Kong is pure biology.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, first of all, they have to jack Kong to be like at least 200 feet, 250 feet tall.
He's looking
But
pretty
you
tall
know,
in Skull
you know what I
Island.
heard actually is that in this new movie,
Yeah.
Kong is only a teenager. So supposedly he will get bigger.
In time for the I feel like this entire film is one like Universal. I feel like has been trying to bring back Kong. Like Peter Jackson's Kong did all right, but I don't think it necessarily did what they were looking for back in.
Yeah, this isn't even Universal. I don't think they're not releasing it.
Oh. Well then, because don't they have the? I know this is not necessarily a barometer for who's releasing it, but didn't they just open the Skull Island ride at Universal Studios?
They did, but that has more to do with licensing.
Right.
Apparently, the rights to Kong are sort of
Convoluted.
convoluted. So
Convoluted?
when Legendary, so basically, I think Universal said to Legendary, "Go ahead, do what you want to do with it." And since they were already with, who were they releasing those movies with?
Yeah, it was Warner Brothers. I thought.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think Warner Brothers is actually releasing those movies.
I think there's also something in the rights that's about how you're telling your story. Like, if your movie's King Kong versus if your movie's Skull Island. Like, I think Skull Island has its own legal things, and so I think it's like what Kong story you tell. I don't think it's Kong actually. I think it's the story you choose to tell that is protected.
But I also heard. I mean, I heard from somebody at Universal that they purposely did not get in the way. You know what I mean? I guess they could have made an issue or something, but they didn't.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of like this. We're kind of in this Brave New World thing where I grew up watching like kaiju movies on Sci-Fi Channel. Back when they used to show them like on Saturday mornings, I used to eat that shit up like Saturday morning cartoons. And they're also doing the shared universe with the Universal monsters. Like they're bringing back the Mummy and I guess they tried with Dracula Untold, and then they were like, we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, no, I think they got a writers' room together, and they're developing them all. The one thing that I do know is that they're all contemporary. They're not, Gothic or Victorian or they want to sort of reimagine the monster universe for today. And I read the Mummy script, and it's pretty interesting. I can't say anything about it, but I do think it's interesting, and there's a couple interesting twists in it.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm excited. I grew up watching. For me, I was more of a Wolfman guy, but yeah, this is all okay. While we're on the topic, do you guys have a? Because we've already like exhausted slashers, really. Do you guys have a favorite, like classic Universal monster guy or gal?
That's tough.
I think I'd have to go with Dracula just because of Bram Stoker and Interview the Vampire, just the whole vampire in general. I'd have to go with Dracula.
For me, it's probably Creature. I don't know why when I was a kid I thought the Creature from the Black Lagoon was the coolest looking thing ever. I watched it recently. It doesn't hold up at all. Like the action, like what he did, like not at all. But
in the third one,
Creature Walks Among Us.
Yeah, he the way that they kill him is they drown him.
I haven't seen that probably in 30 years.
The sequel, the Return of the Creature, first on-screen role for Clint Eastwood.
He's a scientist.
I think that was the first one, though. I don't even think it was the second one.
No, it was. I think it was Return. I mean, I
was it?
Either, but
I'm fairly confident that it's Return.
Yeah, and I know Guillermo del Toro's favorite's the Creature. For I guess I don't know what it is about the Gill Man, but I mean he's cool.
I don't know. I mean he looks really cool, and I think they've tried to crack it several times over, and I don't know what kind of luck they're having, but maybe in a year or two. I'll get a shot.
He cameos in Lego Batman.
Yeah, and
is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys haven't seen Lego Batman yet?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, that's what I'm geeking over.
Get on that.
Yeah.
It's just the best. It's a
what
fun
did we
time.
watch? We watched Fist Fight.
Oh, is that good?
I liked it. I thought it was funny. And they do fist fight, so
just like Rocky 2. We're full circle.
Right? Yeah, full circle.
But do you guys have anything you want to plug other than Cannibal Volume 1 again in comic book shops everywhere in Comixology on Wednesday, March 8th?
I mean, I do have Sons of the Devil Volume 3 starts up in April. So that will be the third and final arc for Sons of the Devil. So look for that one. I think whenever the next previews comes out, it'll be in there because it's an April release.
Right.
Beyond that, I don't really have anything comic book wise that's coming out because of the Universal thing.
I mean, congrats again there. I mean, that's cool. You get to write. You are paid to write movies on the reg.
Yeah, I mean, the odds of them actually making it are undetermined, but it's been a great experience, man. It's really been awesome. I have my own ID card for Universal, so I think that's more cool.
Do you get into the theme park for free?
Or
is it
Nobody does.
No, I don't think anybody does. Although I have heard there are like some backdoor ways
You
to
can
get
get fired for sneaking in. It's crazy.
Wow.
But we have annual passes because of a ride I like to call Transformers.
Oh.
See,
I actually like the tram. The tram's my favorite.
I've never been to the Los Angeles one. We're right outside of DC, so we have to resort to Orlando. But I mean, they've got speaking of the Mummy, that ride kicks ass, and
the one in Hollywood at Universal is not that great. The Mummy one,
really,
it's pretty old and archaic. Yeah, yeah. They need to fix it.
It's like a shittier Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Egyptian themed.
The backlot on the backlot tram, they have a Fast and Furious holographic element. That's really pretty cool.
Guys, we might have to do a geek out field trip.
We might.
And we'll go with you.
Yeah.
Make it a play date.
Happy fun times. Yep.
I'm debating if I'm going to be in like the Los Angeles, Anaheim area for WonderCon. I'll be at Emerald City, I guess, next week. I need to pack.
Yeah.
Fuck. But
that's what the night before is for.
Yeah. And the just not sleeping at all for the early morning flight. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, so cool. So I guess
If you come to Anaheim, let us know, and we'll go to Universal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We will make it happen. But yeah, so Volume 3 of Sons of the Devil comes out in April, and again, that first volume of Cannibal out in comic book stores everywhere and Comixology on Wednesday, March 8th. Brian, Jen, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Nice chatting with you guys again.
Yep.
And also joining us is series artist Matias Bergara. Matias, thanks again for coming back on the show.
Hey, thank you too, guys.
So the last time we talked, you mentioned that Hergé was a big influence on you, and so is Bill. I always screw up his last name. It's Sienkiewicz?
Sienkiewicz?
Sinkovich.
Sinkovich. It's like that scene in Dumb and Dumber. Flippy, slappy, Samsonite.
But I will say with Bill's work that has a very surreal feel, and with all of Cannibal, there's a very kind of surreal, almost nightmarish quality, especially to the horror depicted in there. How was that? Was that a conscious effort when you were illustrating these first 4 issues?
Yeah, completely. Because in this case, because it's not an urban story, it's more like a small town story. I thought it might be really cool to explore. The whole setting, not only as scenery, but as a sort of a character, not just backgrounds or just environment, but an actual part of the story. And since it's the Florida swamps and forests and stuff, I thought it might look good, to make it creepy and very dense, and also kind of surreal, but maybe, I don't know if surreal would be the right word. I wanted it to be confusing and a little scary, If you've ever been in a forest or in a jungle, and you find yourself lost and without a clear path to follow, it's a very scary thing, It's very confusing. People get lost easily in woods or in nature, and here in Willow, it's not really. It's a very dense jungle, very dense swamps and stuff, and it's not a friendly or clear space. I see it as a sort of a very oppressive and very dark jungle, and forests and swamps and stuff, to help the overall feeling of uneasiness and danger that the story is about.
I will say a lot of horror stories tend to take place at night, and certainly the opening of Cannibal takes place, one bloody night. Though I was surprised how much of the story takes place while the sun is still up. Was that kind of... You mentioned capturing the darkness of the Everglades and the darkness. How was that kind of a challenge for you, trying to convey something that, again, horrific in a setting that we hadn't normally seen before?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really different if it's day or night, Of course, nighttime it's always scarier, being if you're in a city or in the jungle or wherever. But the day gives you the opportunity to use lighting and different colors and different textures and stuff, and it's just a different part of the scariness of it, or the tone of the terror you're trying to transmit. During the night, you can use shadows and I don't know, obviously darkness and danger everywhere. But during the day, you can show off more people, faces, aggression, a lot of things that are also horrible and terrible in plain sight, It allows you to show lots of things and also to convey some of the bleakness and the richer parts of the town, of the people, or whatever place you're using it to as a backdrop to your story. It can't be all the shadows and night all the time. I think in this case, since it's a very interesting place to portray Willow. At least it is for me, because last time we talked, I told you I've never been in the south of the U.S., nor in the Everglades or Florida, but it was fun for me to try to imagine all of the aspects, and so I guess I'm having fun trying to understand how the place would work during the day, during the night, during rain, during different sorts of temperatures and conditions. So I think that's one of the great motivations that are moving me to work and try different things in Willow, in the town.
Mm-hmm. I would say that your work in Cannibal is, some of the most violent, bloody work that we've seen from you. But looking at your DeviantArt portfolio, or looking at the certainly looking at the DC Rebirth stuff, or even like American Vampire or Sons of Anarchy, what were some of your really horror influences in trying to capture that? Was it, say, like zombie fiction, or was it, say, some like Italian giallo stuff?
Yeah, I remember watching some zombie movies, of course. Many of the most gruesome scenes and bloodiest scenes in cinema, they stuck with you, and they stay in your memory, some really horrible images. And I also Googled a lot of really horrible images from real life, like car crashes, decomposing bodies and stuff. Really horrible stuff to watch. But if someone is eating someone alive, and there's guts flying, you have to know how that looks. I mean, you could make it up, and of course you're gonna make it up because we are artists, not surgeons or whatever, and we don't know these things perfectly. But you can't just make up guts endlessly, just twirling meat and stuff. And so I took inspiration and reference from lots of places. It's very violent, but it's not constantly violent. I think we're not saturating the story with violence or aggression or blood, except for a few specific moments, like high spikes in the violence meter. But it's fun for me also.
Well, I mean, that's good. I mean, though it, I'm sure, raises red flags about like the Google search history and everything.
Yeah.
But I do think that, to your credit, you definitely catch that tension, because there isn't even that opening violent scene. We certainly see stuff go down, but we don't see, it isn't violent for the sake of being violent. And I think that you guys kind of strike that balance, and certainly you strike it very well artistically.
Well, in that case, in that specific case, originally, it was much more violent. I mean, I had done a couple of panels which were extremely graphic, like pieces of meat flying, pieces of the little boy and stuff. But Brian and Jennifer thought it would be nicer if we just change that to something more subtle, not so graphic, not so in your face, but a little bit softer, and maybe hiding some of the most gruesome parts of the act of eating someone. So to leave something to imagination, something that sometimes it works better to just let you think what's let you cook in your mind what's going on, what's happening, and what's going on that you're not seeing with your eyes on the drawing.
I mean, the mind will always come up with whatever is something far worse than what's depicted on the page or on the screen. Absolutely.
Yeah, usually.
Now, with we had a bunch of. You've recently been doing, since last time we talked, you've been doing some DC Rebirth stuff as well. And I was kind of wondering in Uruguay and in Montevideo and all that, what the comic book scene is like there. The only experience I have with it in South America is I remember seeing like issues of like Spider-Man in Spanish on sale in like Buenos Aires, like street corners and that sort of thing. But yeah, I was always curious like what's big down around the world.
Well, honestly, comics here are not really very different from what's happening in different parts of the world, like in the U.S. and stuff. Comics are not. I mean, regular comics, currently published comics, are not sold in everywhere, but in comic shops specifically, and there are not so many, not so many places where you could get them. A lot of people are buying them digitally. It's easier and faster, and we don't get comics regularly. Like we get comics, but they arrive like 2 or 3 months later than U.S. dates and releases. And lots of people just buy the trades, because it's very hard to follow a series buying every month and stuff regularly. And so people will buy trades, go to specific comic shops and stuff, or read it online, or I don't know. But that's the general situation here. And I know because I've been there. It's very much the same in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and other countries.
Growing up, what was it mostly? Again, you mentioned Hergé. Was it mostly like European artists that was available? Was it like Mobius and that sort of thing as well?
Yeah, in the 80s, we had a lot more comics because they were Spanish translations, and all of the monthly titles like Superman, Batman, and some Marvel comics were published regularly, and you could buy them anywhere, at newsstands and stuff. They were everywhere, and so as little kids, we grew up on John Byrne's Superman and that kind of stuff. That was the kind of stuff that we had. And then in the mid-90s, you could only find maybe Image stuff, mainly Spawn, and the DC and Marvel Spanish comics started disappearing slowly, and newsstands started not selling comics anymore, and you had to go to to comic shops specifically. And here in Montevideo, which is 1.5 million people city, there are maybe 3 or 4 comic book shops at most, and they are very small also. And most of them sell only trades and no monthly titles.
I'm curious because in the book there's plenty of big splash pages, whether it's an action thing or it's just environmental with the swamps and the Everglades. I'm curious when you're looking at a blank page, getting ready to draw. Do you have a certain routine that you do, or it just all depends on what image you're trying to draw, or is there always something you kind of hone in on first and go from there?
Well, it's difficult to explain because once you have done this hundreds of times, it's more like an automated process. It's not that you don't think in editing. I usually do my layouts on Photoshop, very simple digital layouts, because it allows me to move panels and stuff, and not use so much paper in just doing little thumbnails. And what I think of when looking at a blank page is, first of all, where the balloons are going to be, the speech balloons, just to be clear about that, where the characters are going to be, if it's important to be like big characters, or maybe they could be shown in a smaller way or whatever. And then just you distribute the spaces and the elements you need to show something. If it's a horror scene, obviously you're going to have to use elements of composition and stuff. that they are not going to work the same way if it's a different kind of scene, like I don't know, maybe just a conversation. Cannibal is a great example because there are many panels of just people talking or moving to a place to another, or driving, or just thinking, or having an argument. So from a compositive point of view, it's challenging and it's interesting because it's not like, superhero comics where there are lots of action and lots of double spread pages and stuff, which are, believe it or not, a lot simpler to plan and to execute, at least for me, because action is fun and it fills the page easily. But if you have to, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 pages of just people having normal human relations in a normal place, then the challenge grows. The challenge goes up a lot. Sorry, my English is really broken and repetitive, but I'm trying to, to not slump it too much.
Está bien, está bien. So is it difficult to kind of transition from, say, doing the more naturalistic, focusing on the nature and the quiet moments of Cannibal, between the big, loud action of Supergirl that you've been working on as well?
Yeah, it's actually hard because it's like playing in 2 bands at the same time, and one band is, a reggae band, and the other one is a death metal band. So it's hard, yeah. Especially if you're doing the same thing at the same time. Like currently, I am doing 2 pages a day. 1 page for Supergirl and 1 for Cannibal, meeting these deadlines, and it's a fun challenge, and it's a very different thing. Has to do with the thing I was telling you before, because in the same day, all the weeks during this month, I'm having to have like 2 different mindsets and 2 different approaches to drawing comics at the same time. It's not even a day. I don't even have one single day to just stop and say, okay, let's change our mind, and now we're gonna work action comics, like superhero comics, and now we're gonna be back to doing Cannibal again. But it's almost the same time. It's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge.
I mean, yeah, you kind of have your cake and eat it too. You've got the creator-owned like indie horror book, and on the other hand, you're drawing the most iconic superhero of all time. Her and her cousin, and it's just like, I mean, that's the dream, right?
Well, yeah, it's a bit strange to me because I love superheroes, and during my teenage years, I was completely addicted to them, like most of us, especially to Batman. And then when I started doing comics professionally and illustration and stuff, I slowly started rotating more to, independent comics, adult comics, graphic novels and stuff. And it's been so many years away from that going back to that early passion has been a weird trip, because honestly, doing people flying with capes and stuff is not as easy as it looks, and obviously it's a very different language. It's drawing comics is not the same in every case, and I see it this way: when you're starting a new project or a new comic, even if it's something very similar to what you have been doing, you always have the opportunity to change a little bit and to learn new things, because no stories are alike. Even if they seem very similar, in any chance you have the opportunity to change a little bit your way of drawing and how you will execute your art to better suit the story, to better work for the story. And in this case, doing superhero stuff has forced me to really learn this on the go, because I haven't had a lot of time to learn this very specific way of drawing characters and action and stuff, and it's very funny. It's a lot of fun.
What would you say now that you've got the first volume of Cannibal under your belt and you're well into arc 2? What would you say is the big thing that you've learned working on Cannibal, if you had to pinpoint it at this point?
Well, I haven't really stopped to think a lot about that, because mostly I have been working nonstop. But I think Cannibal, it's the way it works and the way it moves as a story. It's the first time I have done horror comics, honestly, especially this long, like many issues. And I think it's a very interesting kind of slowly developing story, where tension grows steadily, and it shows, it feels through the story. And it's a story that is preparing you for something terrible and very big that is cooking just below everybody's feet. Not literally, but in a sort of argumental way. But I think one of the things that I have learned doing Cannibal is the value of quiet tension. I mean, and the value of using environment and pauses, silences, and graphic cues to keep the reader interested and the tension growing.
Well, Matias, something, as you may recall, we ask everybody that comes on the show, what are you geeking out over? ¿Qué está disfrutando?
Well, last thing I saw that I found really, really interesting and kept me going was a Netflix series which is called 3%. It's a science fiction Brazilian miniseries, and I really, really recommend you to watch it. It's in the line of Black Mirror, which I am also watching now. And dystopian science fiction, but it's very, very clever, and I just love it. I'm just using my little spare time in watching it, and I really recommend you to.
Do you? We were talking to Jason Latour, I guess last month, and he says that whenever he draws now, he always has Star Trek: The Next Generation on in the background. Do you tend to work more in silence, or do you have like music or like a TV show or movie that you always have on in the background as you work?
Well, yeah, I need surrounding sound of some sort, and I just put the radio up. Radio with people talking all the day about nothing, about silly things, and news or whatever. That's my white noise, my background noise, which I need to work. Like watching TV while dying or something. I really need it. I used to listen to a lot of music and stuff, especially music that had something to do with what I was drawing at the time. But I have dropped that habit, and now I just listen to people talking.
Is 3% kind of? You mentioned it's like Black Mirror, so is it self-contained like Twilight Zone and everything?
No, I mean it's like Black Mirror in the sense that it's a dystopian near future thing, but it's a single story. It's I think it's 8 episodes long. Season 1 it's already over, and they are doing season 2 now. That I don't know. Maybe it will go out in the last 2 months of the year. But it's great, and I recommend it you.
Yeah, definitely be sure to check it out. Well, Matias, thanks again for coming on the show. And again, keep an eye out for the return of Cannibal. And, here we are to, it's available in Netflix US.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It is available on the US Netflix.
Sweet.
Excellent. Cool. There, no excuse. But, again, keep an eye out for the return of Cannibal. And, of course, Volume 1 is out this month. And, always lovely time with that creative team, that trio. So, again, go ahead and check out Cannibal, available out in comic book shops and Comixology on Wednesday, March 8th. So, you guys get into anything? I know as kind of a teaser for this week's Laserdiscs, Dicks.
It's a tongue twister there.
It is.
Yeah.
Chris, you finally saw or maybe revisited the first two Highlander films?
Yeah, probably 10 plus years ago at this point, I watched all of the Highlander movies while I was working at Blockbuster. And recently, How Did This Get Made did an episode on Highlander 2. And listening to that episode, I was like, I feel like I've never seen this movie. I know I saw it. What's going on? So found Highlander and Highlander 2 The Quickening on Laserdisc on eBay, and went and bought them, watched them today, and dear God, they were awful.
Oh,
like
no.
I do not understand people who like love these movies, obsess like, and I can get down with like a movie that's like so bad that it's good,
right?
Whatever you want to say about my taste in movies, but like this was just it was a pain to get through. The only good thing about it was the Queen songs, and then but they used them sparingly.
Kind of Magic. I think that's what that album sprung from.
Here
we are. It was like an actual Highlander release. They just had songs. They put them on. Kind of Magic. Like Who Wants to Live Forever.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest power ballads of all time.
Yeah.
Sure.
See, now you can judge your previous taste. I mean, do you remember if you enjoyed them or not growing up?
I do not. I actually, oddly enough, I think that as the series of movies progressed, I enjoyed them more.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about Highlander 2?
It's not good.
I
will. It's not a perfect progression that they get better in my head.
There's a dip.
Yeah. Highlander 2 is awful.
Look at these goddamn dips. Well, I will leave the full Highlander discussion for Laserdiscs again out this Friday. So keep an ear out.
Is it last Friday?
No, because this goes up on March 1st.
Doesn't
Laserdiscs goes up on March.
Well, no,
it's this Friday. Yeah,
it's this Friday.
This past Friday. Listen to this past episode, Laserdiscs. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Space-time continuum.
Sorry for lifting the veil.
Yeah.
Showing you that sometimes
I burned that fucking veil.
We burned that motherfucker to the
years
ground.
ago.
Literally,
drank
years
it
at this
fucking
point.
ashes
Literally.
like Ovaltine.
You guys, you guys getting anything?
Well, we went to Capsicon, didn't we, Chris?
I talked about Katsucon.
But you can talk.
Yeah, talk about it. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Yeah. No, actually, yeah, because like you weren't with me when I went to the big meetup for Marvel, so I can talk about that. I can talk about cool stuff. So, Katsucon was great. Those that know Ken know me. I go to
friend of the show, Ken.
Yeah. I go
to Laserdiscs.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little show. You may have heard of it. But yeah, I actually work Katsucon. I run the volunteers department and wrangle little volunteers and send them out to various places. So I'm there every year. And as of late, Katsucon's been getting more into like the multimedia rather than just anime fandom. So
most cons I feel like are
they ultimately just kind of even out in their like general nerdiness with like focuses
Baltimore's
here and there.
holding out.
Yeah.
Baltimore's still very much comic book oriented.
Well, I'm excited. When is that?
September.
Yeah. That's my favorite con still.
There's like a drought.
It's one of my favorites as a fan,
Yeah. There's like a drought of like cons in this local area because Katsucon, I think the next one's going to be NovaCon or AwesomeCon.
When do they do Otakon?
It's in like August, I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's summer.
Right around the same time as Dragon
But yeah,
Con.
Yeah.
Nova and Awesome, I think, are both in June.
Okay. Yeah. So like, it's this big gap until June, and I wanted to wear a Spider-Man outfit. So, cats.
No one is stopping you.
No one's stopping me, but like I wanted to have a excuse, a reason. I mean, put it this way: during the Christmas season,
Instead of just insanity.
yeah, I got to at least appear. I got to keep up appearances that I'm not insane. But no, during the Christmas season, I just made up an excuse that hey, it's the day before Christmas. My friend wants to go to the mall and get a dress. I'm just gonna wear my Spider-Man outfit with a Spider-Man themed holiday sweater, and just that's what I wore to the mall, and it was great. I had a grand old time. Kids were like staring at me like mouths agape, and parents were like, hey, look at that guy in tights, what an idiot.
You wear a dancer's belt, right?
That I do. I mean, there's no other way to roll, because I mean,
Well,
there is, and I'm currently blind because of it.
that's the thing.
The gentleman is somewhere in this vicinity. I can't tell. Samuel Stone.
Yeah. Seriously, like I mean, for the sake of folks around you, wear dancer's belts. Real men wear dancer's belts.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Not everybody can have like the comic book physique of a Ken doll.
Ken.
But I can for the low price of $25 on Amazon.
I think the only time I don't wear a dancer's belt now is when I wear the Game of Death tracksuit.
But so like right now you're wearing a dancer's belt.
I am. Yeah.
They're oddly comfortable if you get the right size.
The biggest.
Only for you. Ah, jeez. But in any case,
Well, that's cool though.
but yeah. So
You're saying shift to multimedia.
Yes, I was saying multimedia. So, like, what they've done in past years is they've teamed up with Marvel to do a giant Marvel cosplay shoot. So, besides just the random dudes running around, Marvel sends in a photographer, and they get us in one spot and just take a huge photo, and it's getting progressively larger. I didn't see a head count, but there was. Gosh, it was so like a staircase going from floor to floor. Maybe about 3 people wide, not 2 people wide, arms length apart. We filled it, the entire thing. And I want to say about a quarter of that was Spider-Man's. And it was pretty rad.
Take your Spider-Mans. Don't forget to take your Spider-Mans.
Get your Spider-Mans, they're chewable.
Yeah.
All the little Hulkamaniacs, don't forget to take your Spider-Mans.
Yeah, your Spider-Mans.
They're right next to the Flintstones.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a grand old time. I almost missed it because they didn't say like what stairwell, and there's a lot of stairwells at the Gaylord Convention Center. So I had it hunted down, but I actually went with the Spider-Punk costume, just because walking around, you and me, Chris, found somebody with my almost exact costume.
Yes.
Because that's the thing, when you do a Spider-Man costume, unless you design the file yourself, people are probably going to have like the same costume as you. So I have a good one, but I kind of want to be original. I mean, I don't know. I want to be special. There was one other Spider-Punk there, and he didn't have head spikes. So he's out. But no, it was
Tenzin.
I'm the greatest. There can only be one.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
But it was great. I posted, like, Marvel's going to post on social media. I think they've already posted it on Katsucon's Facebook. I reblogged it a couple times. And I, in fact, got, after we took the photo, because I was awkwardly, like squeezed in with people. And I'm in there. I'm, like, right dead center, which is great.
Nice.
But I got all the Spider-Mans afterwards, and she's like, hey, do you guys want to take a spider selfie? I mean, I got a angle lens. Do you want to do that? So we got a good photo there. It was pretty great. And we had like a little 3-year-old with us. It was awesome. He had the blow up muscle Spider-Man suit, and it was really cute. He's like, guys, I want to be in this too. And I'm like, yes, encourage your children to dress up as Spider-Man day in, day out. I'm for it. So that was rad. Chris and I did a little photo shoot. I don't know if he talked about that.
I saw it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I have a Valentine's Day picture from it.
Yeah.
Well, no, the Gwenom.
The Gwenom
Yeah,
one,
the
yeah,
Gwen
because
one, yeah.
that hasn't come out yet. Chris and I did a kind of Valentine's Day themed burlesque boudoir. Sorry, boudoir. One of those B words.
Yes.
It involves stripping. And
I didn't get that one.
yeah, you'll get it eventually, just for you.
buddy.
I'll sign it for you too.
Oh my god!
Well, I had the Valentine one.
What are you gonna sign it with?
Yeah. I had the Valentine Day one of you like with like the hands on
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
And I realized that it was sitting in the passenger seat of my car all day at work.
Oh my
So I can
God.
only imagine like people walking by and being like, Jake has a Spider-Man Valentine. Yeah, no, yeah. The picture that Cam was talking about though of like the League
Yeah.
of Extraordinary Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's-
That's fucking great.
No, it's rad. There was a lot of us, and we're all just having a good
Yeah,
time.
you are like front and center, man.
Yeah.
That's good. That's nice.
It's actually fun. I was the unofficial Spider Dad through the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Because before that suite, I was working, and the booth is in a spot where like a lot of foot traffic, and there's a lot of Spider-Men that
And
are.
a lot of people think it's the information booth.
Oh gosh, yeah. Even though it says registration, and we have also a sign that says volunteers, they're just like, so where do I get my badge?
Nobody reads signs. It's crazy.
It's a lost.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a written word. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But so I see a lot of the costumes walking past, and I saw a couple cool Spider-Man outfits, and I chatted them up, got their photos. But then they realized that as another fellow Spider-Man cosplayer, they understand. I understood the woes of, hey, can you unzip my back? I need to go to the bathroom like right the fuck now. Like nobody
That's why
understands.
you get the crotch zipper.
Yeah. No, but nobody wants to get it because it's like just it stands out. It stands out. I mean, your crotch already stands out because even with a dancer's belt, like there's lumps. Like we can't all. There's lumps.
That lump of dick.
Yeah.
I mean, my penis is just so big. I gotta roll it up on it. So
Not us.
Big and lumpy.
Yeah. Fruit by the foot. I don't even know.
just
that.
goes on.
I don't know
and
anymore,
on
guys.
and
I
on.
don't know anymore.
But yeah, so like a couple of them came. I was like, "Hey, can you help me out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be Spider Dad." Spider Dad.
Spider Dad.
So is your favorite favorite outfit to wear been the Spider Punk?
I
feel like
think
that's what I've seen you in the most, like via Instagram.
Well, I've
or-
had that the longest.
That's when you had the longest.
I've had that the longest because I actually got that one probably close to a year ago now, just pretty close. But I've had it. I bought two versions. Like I actually bought one, my very first suit, and I made the mistake of getting full body. Like this thing doesn't have a removable mask. It doesn't. I had to like sew conductive thread into the finger so I could actually use cell phones. Like this was my very
Peter Parker of you.
Exactly. I come up with all the cool solutions.
Yeah.
But this was definitely like, baby's first, full body spandex. But eventually like I wore it down a little bit. It was getting kind of ragged, and eventually I was like, you know what? I kind of want to, take off the mask on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it again. So that's probably the longest that I've had.
Okay.
I like it because I think it's the one I'm most comfortable in.
Okay.
Because I'm wearing sneakers. I'm wearing my Chucks. I can walk around. They're comfortable. And it's good for like gags because like with the jean jacket, with like the punk being like a rocker, like it's like a fun persona rather than like the generic like I'm Spider-Man. I'm here to save
It's
the
like
day.
between Spider-Man and Deadpool. Like
Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
full goofball ridiculous, but
Yeah.
you're not like you said.
Like I'm not being a jerk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like I'm not like blaring subwoofers like down the hallway or mixing a costume.
Hate those people.
Yeah, they're the worst. I mean, I get it. You have good taste in music, but I don't want to hear it right this second. But yeah, then the second would be the other one that I've got, the generic Spider-Man, because it's really well shaded. Like
Yeah, no, it is. I've seen that one.
Yeah.
We still need to do like a Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions meetup gang photo.
I mean, you're about my size. You can borrow one of my suits, man.
Kick a couple off the butt.
Yeah. I mean, it's stretchy for a reason.
But no, I want to do
Noir.
Noir would be cool, but
Oh.
or 2099.
Yeah.
29.
I've
Yeah,
always loved the 2099 look.
getting a good
Or
20.
the spider.
The Spider.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
1602.
exactly. Yeah, Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah.
But you should, if you get a really good 2099, that'd be good because like all the ones that I see printed are like kind of crappy.
Yeah, they're always like real. I know that's kind of the thing, but like they're always like that really like shiny.
Yeah.
And I don't want that madness.
No. And what I've seen that works well too is that instead of just like getting printed on masks, like to get like hard plastic red bits to put on the face because
okay.
that looks really cool.
Yeah, I feel like that would actually be that'd be a harder one to see out of too, because like there's not like like with the Spider-Man one that you had, like there's like lenses for it. I mean, that's part of
Exactly.
it. Where this one's supposed to be, you know, obviously it was designed for no one to ever actually look, you know, the costume.
It's true, but if they do it like with a different fabric right around the eyes, that might be better because the thing I find with the lenses is that they fog up. They fog up because like I'm like always breathing heavy and like, hey guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's the number thing. I've tried to use anti-fog stuff, but it's still kind of
My dream Spider-Man outfit though to wear, swear to God,
Swear to God.
is the 70s.
Swear to me.
Swear to me. The 70s TV show Spider-Man. That's my dream one. That's my dream Spider-Man
Ken,
outfit.
aren't you working on something like that?
Well,
That mask is my favorite, man.
it's so weird because it's like circular.
It's a
right?
circular. It has like almost like an
Reflective.
eyelash. It looks like eyelashes instead of the.
Yeah, and he has does he uses like a rope webbing in that one too.
He just goes like this, and like a net flies out,
Yeah.
like like shitty Halloween, like
my God.
cobweb stuff. And then he has like the wrist, the wrist junk. I think I've seen you post a picture of.
Well, yeah, I'm actually working on the Sentai Spider-Man.
Oh,
one.
okay, it's
The-
that one's it's similar. Those two are similar.
Exactly, but yeah, the same concept. Like webbing doesn't come out of the wrist things.
Yeah.
No, we gotta have like this gauntlet on his
yeah.
hand. But I'm working on it. I came up with the design. It's funny, like when they adapted the Spider-Man into comic form, Spider-Man. They adapted him into.
I'm feeling no Spider-Man.
Did you?
Nobody knows who you are.
Did you read? Did you listen to that rock comic? That I don't know if I shared it with you or not.
You did
Oh yeah. Did you listen to it?
a little.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Pretty
But
cool.
but I lost my train of thought.
Spider-Man's you're adapting.
Yeah, when they adapted it into the comic, like the Spider Verse thing, they actually made it like this huge hexagonal thing, like this thing that's about 2 inches thick all the way
right.
around. And then when you go back to the show, it's like no, it's like a bracelet with like one part that's a little thicker. That's it. So I had to redo my design. So now I have like two just lying around. It's like, what are these? I'm like, they're the prototypes for the real deal.
Yeah, prototypes are the real deal.
So
Do you? I don't know if we've mentioned this before, because I feel like every time, because you're the Spider-Man guy.
I'm the guy. Well, you're the guy too. You're all
we
guys.
we all enjoy Spidey, but do you like the new like Marvel Spider-Man movie, cinematic universe Spider-Man outfit? Little bits of black and the smaller eyes.
I like what they're doing with it, but I'm very much a believer in the classic. Like Amazing Spider-Man 2 was
That's
probably
still my favorite
that's
Spider-Man
still-
outfit on
yeah.
screen.
That's still
It's
that's
fucking great.
That's still my favorite. But I mean, I like what they're doing because I mean they have to make it different.
Sure.
And I'm not going to blame them for
And the
that.
expressive eyes, the way of
Yeah.
doing that is really clever.
Oh, yeah.
And they brought the thing I've loved them forever for
Is the web.
the webbing under the arms.
Yeah, you're a classic guy. Like
that's
that.
that's the greatest thing of all time.
Oh man, no, I'm excited to see if they utilize it more than just like gliding. Like if they just have it, because one of the cool bits was just like it flexes with him, like it's just there all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a cool design. It's unique, and I like the fact that it's like designed by Robert Downey Jr. Man. So he can like press like the button and
Yeah,
it
like
comes
that when it
off.
pops up. And also he's
Yeah.
got like the little magazines for the webbing, like kind of the belt and stuff.
Yeah,
Cool.
see, that's a cool concept because that's what I always loved about the comics was that like he's running out, he's got to change, or oh no, I'm going to do some special webbing that's like super gloopy or something like that. Like my encyclopedia that I've got like details all these different like features of webbing that they just don't do when they do organic or like certain cartoons. They're just like it's whatever. He's got webbing.
Yeah,
that's why I do appreciate the 90s and the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon because they do touch base on like he can run out and it creates drama.
Yeah, that's the thing that with the organic. I mean, the organic webbing they did it in obviously Spider-Man 2, but like it.
But it was
it's-
weird. Like,
yeah.
why is this happening?
It's something that they can use in the comic, and it could be a dramatic story beat.
Yeah.
That he's he's fighting a guy. He's got the upper hand on Mysterio or Doc Ock, and now he's out of webs.
Exactly. I'll let you know though. One more thing before we turn this into the Spider-Man podcast.
Yes.
Seeing you two over there.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
I'm actually working on a villain costume.
Yeah.
I normally
Who is your favorite Spider-Man villain? I feel like I've never asked you this question
I really
because it says a lot about.
it says it's Chance. It's Chance. Well, see, because here's the thing. I actually kind of like Prowler.
Okay.
I like Prowler because they do a lot with him. There's a lot of cool stories that they've done with him as a villain and as a hero. And currently he's Spider-Man, the assistant Spider-Man. But Chance is a close second just because they didn't use him as much, and he's just so cool.
You know who co-created Chance?
Who did that?
Todd McFarlane.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
Came out before. There's a couple issues introducing him, so I don't know if like.
I was staying corrected.
Yeah, we should look it up, but I'm pretty sure that the comics I've seen him introduced in are a lot older than his appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man mainline. He made an appearance in the Web of Spider-Man. Oh. As I read it earlier. Sorry, I didn't want to put you in your place.
No. I value honesty and true information. Honor, integrity.
I'll just show you off mic or whatever, but I am in the process of still collecting everything Frank Miller's ever done.
Yeah.
And including covers, not just interior work.
Yeah.
And I got this really great Spider-Man Frank Miller comic on the way. He did like some covers. And
yeah,
of course,
I think I've seen him.
The first time he drew Daredevil is also the first time he drew Spider-Man, because they teamed up in I think it was Spectacular Spider-Man 27.
Okay. Did he do it may have been someone else, but I'm remembering an iconic Daredevil Spider-Man cover where like he's cradling Daredevil like he got like really injured or something. Kingpin silhouettes in the background.
I don't remember. I know that the thing that when Spider-Man and Daredevil team up, Spider-Man's blind.
Oh.
And Spider-Man does not know Daredevil's blind.
That's
and
right.
Spider-Man is a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah.
He's like, "What do you know about being blind?" And Daredevil's like, "I know, you little shitbird."
Yeah. I love it when they do stuff like that, because like they've done that before with like Hawkeye and Spider-Man. Hawkeye, like I think he's deaf, right, in certain continuities.
He has
or hard hearing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
his parents were deaf, and I want to say for at least in like the was it the Matt Fraction for a time he was temporarily deaf.
Okay.
Yeah. So he has to relearn how to sign.
Yeah. Well, it's like in one bit, I don't know if it's like Deadpool or Daredevil or no, Deadpool or Spider-Man, but like they move their mask up so he can read their lips, because like full body mask can't read the lips.
Yeah.
Yeah. But roundabout, I am working on a Chance costume.
Sweet.
I've got the helmet. I've got the piping. I gotta just make a jetpack and print out stretchy spandex for the suit underneath. But I'm kind of excited because like it always goes over well when you do like a unique villain from Spider-Man. Like I loved meeting this dude that did an amazing Kraven. Yeah, he did an amazing Kraven.
I feel like I've seen a couple,
fur. Yeah. Like I'll show you the photo later, but like this dude was on point. He looked exactly like him. Nice. And I was like, "Hey, your suit's amazing." And his wife's over in the background. I know, I did it myself.
That's awesome.
So, sorry for turning into the Spider-Man podcast.
No, you're fine.
It's called Geek Out. You geeked out.
Yeah. You are our
geeked
guest.
Out hard.
You are our guest, and this is our home, and we invite you in.
Spider-Man.
What do you think is the most American movie, Ken?
Well, this Laserdisc I have down here by Chuck Norris. What is it called here?
Invasion USA. Yeah. Invasion.
That's a pretty American cover right there.
There you go.
Oh man,
Spider-Man's pretty goddamn American.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Like every other.
Even if the last two have been British.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got yes.
He does a good accent though.
They both do.
What's your favorite Spider-Man movie? Because we know Spectacular Spider-Man is the greatest thing that's ever existed. We've talked about that plenty of times.
Yeah. I'm glad you're in my camp on that.
It's the best.
Honestly,
eats the rest.
Yeah. Don't believe me? Ask the dishes. Honestly, Spider-Man Adjective List 2 is definitely up there.
Adjective List 2.
Yeah, Adjective List because it was like a good we didn't deal with an origin story.
Uh-huh.
We had a great villain.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are jaded to that movie because a lot of people have become comic book fans since that. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, that's what all the movies are like now. But they don't experience that first time of seeing like a Consequence movie. Yeah, where so many superhero movies since then have become about consequence. The Dark Knight's very much about consequence.
Exactly.
The Kick-Ass movie, the first one. So that I think it's you have to really put yourself into that mindset of like, no, 2004, like this hadn't been seen really in a superhero movie. I mean, Superman 2, I guess. Yeah. But as much as I love Superman, I don't necessarily love Superman 2.
Yeah. No, and even then, like, what did we have? Like X-Men movies? Like there wasn't. Oh my.
Yeah.
We had X-Men movies, so like Spider-Man was like probably the big trilogy besides X-Men that was coming out. Like
I remember a packed house for some movie at Centerville Multiplex, and they played the trailer for Spider-Man 2, and the people went fucking crazy.
Oh my god!
Because that was like, oh my god, like like you're right, it was X-Men and Spider-Man and Spider-Man really going at it.
Exactly.
As a quick little aside to the comment you made about the adjective list, there was a guy that I worked with at Midtown Comics back when I lived in New York, who learned what an adjective was because of Marvel Comics. He was like, basically it was like, what's an adjective? And someone was like, well, like Marvel Comics, how they have like the blank X-Men, the blank Spider-Man, whatever that blank is, that's what an adjective is, and he was like, oh, I get it.
Teaching people every day.
Uncanny.
What's
invincible.
I'm trying to think of more, but like I only read Spider-Man, so there's
amazing, spectacular, sensational,
superior,
friendly neighborhood
girlfriend,
Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. I mean,
Web of Spider-Man.
Yeah, again, those are titles.
Those are titles, but they're not the adjective titles that you want.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system.
Yeah. Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
Uncanny X-Men.
Fantastic Four.
Sensational She-Hulk.
Oh. Did they do a Sensational Spider-Man?
Yes.
I'm sure they have.
Yes, they
Probably.
do.
How was it? It was not sensational.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually didn't read it. I just wanted to make the joke.
What was it? What was Daredevil's? Didn't he have like a death-defying?
He's the man without fear.
The man without fear. But to answer your question,
yes,
adjective list 2.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with Andrew Garfield with Amazing One. I'm gonna go with Amazing
One. Okay.
I mean, I really like 2, but what gets points off is that not a lot of people can enjoy it. I can enjoy it because it's
I saw
a movie.
it 4 times in the theaters. And I remember the 4th time I saw it with one of my buddies, and when Green Goblin shows up at the end, he out loud goes, "Oh, that's right, he's still in this. Good God."
Yeah.
We have to fill up that plot point.
It was a little busy, but I did enjoy it as a comic book fan. There's a lot of cool nods to other things, like the prison,
the death
the dude,
of Stacy. The Gwen Stacy.
And I love the fact that like the Rhino, while he's in the movie, he's the bookend to the movie. Like, he's a regular 2-bit criminal, and then like by the end, he's got this suit. Like that's
like shit's
cool.
still going on in between movies. We just happen to be in this universe at this time.
Yeah. It was like a Lethal Weapon 2. I was really sad that they decided to scrap the subsequent
I've been bummed both times they've done it. Like they scrapped Spider-Man 4. With John Malkovich, Vulture. And then they scrapped... I saw some really cool stuff. I'll have to send you the link if you haven't seen it. It's 5 canceled Spider-Man projects.
Yeah, like the Venom, the Sinister Six.
And they have behind the scenes of, like, I guess, a newer outfit they were going to do for Spider-Man 4 and a test of the guy moving in it. And then they had Tobey Maguire doing, like, some stunt work. So he just had the pants on because he was training.
Man.
So in, like, 20 years, they're going to do, like, the death of
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Lives.
But like honestly, the suit looked really good.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was. My biggest problem with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man suit was I didn't like the ribbing. Like I didn't like the kind of like jutting out web, like the jutting out webbing on the body.
Which is hilarious because that's what all the cosplayers are all about, doing puff paint on like all the webs. Yeah. Like maybe not as thick, but like they love outlining it. That's like their major thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
gives it texture.
It gives it texture, but like there's a point. Like it was almost too busy. Like there was a lot of webs on things.
You didn't. You didn't.
Spider-Man's.
You didn't believe that some poor kid from Kew Gardens was able to do this himself.
Exactly. But even like the one that the poor kid from Queens. It was Queens, right?
Yeah,
Queens.
Kew Gardens is a neighborhood in Queens.
Yeah. Okay, well I'm not educated on all the different
Chris,
boroughs.
Chris used to live in New York.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this.
Yes,
I'll defer to you then on your education. But like even the one like he quote unquote made this one like for the amazing for Amazing One, like
that one grew on me when I first saw it. I wasn't super psyched on it.
Yeah,
but the more I see it,
it looks good.
It looks
the
yellow
good.
eyes are a little weird.
Yeah, I don't like small eyes.
You don't like the small eyes?
I don't like
I'm
small eyes.
I'm a small eyes guy.
Yeah,
you're more of a McFarlane with the like
massive
maybe
side
not.
face when you can see like his mouth in the giant eyes.
I love the giant McFarlane eyes.
I mean, no, they're great. They look great, but I like the Steve Ditko, John Romita Sr. smaller eyes.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Like the thick black, like what they're doing in the MCU right now.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that works. I guess with the adjective list, like they were really slanted. you know? And
Yeah,
then-
there were Oakley frames too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
supposedly they couldn't see out of them, so a lot of it was digital. So like they have some behind the scenes stuff where it's just open, you know, for the stunt guy, and then they also had the face, the shell, to make it look more superhero-y.
I like a lot of people use that for costumes, but like you use a cheaper one because obviously like for the stunt work and stuff, it's a full helmet style. But for some people, they get like a half mask that they use to have magnetics on it to hold the lenses in place.
Yeah, okay.
And it's pretty rad. But then something I was talking with Chris about is like, I think my face is just built for being Spider-Man.
No, because I remember you posted. You had that look. You went, Jesus Christ!
Not in like a narcissistic way, but like literally, like we were taking pictures, and like I was like sitting there. I was like, this mask sits on your face like just perfectly.
No, because you posted that photo of like I think you did a shell one and a non-shell one, right?
And like the cheeks look weird.
Yeah.
The cheeks look weird, and then like halfway down your scalp, there's a weird bump because the mask doesn't go all the way.
Exactly.
Well, that helps too, so you can just take it off. You know, you don't have a shell on. You can just pop the mask off.
Yeah. I think the one advantage though of like the shell is that you could just take the lenses off since they're magnetic, and you can instantly see. Because that's I gotta find a way to get rid of the fog. It's starting to like freaking bug me. Like walking down, like you have to walk with somebody and have a familiar blob that you can just latch onto as you're walking around the con. Just because solo style.
Next time, just shout out, "My spider sense," and start running into people. It's broken.
My job at the con is to be that familiar.
You're his
blob.
spider sense.
Yeah. Where are you, Chris? I can't see.
Oh my goodness.
Just get a daredevil to like lead me around.
Even better.
Just make it really
The
meta.
blind
Just
leading the
literally
blind.
do the Frank Miller. He didn't write it, but he penciled it.
Did they like tie something around his eyes or something like that?
For Spider-Man?
Yeah.
No, he just was like, but I can't see.
I can't see.
And they're trying to find, you will be blind forever. And of course he's not.
No.
I think it's 2 issues.
It's like that Batman cartoon. Like, oh, you're gonna be blind for a while. It's like I still got to fight crime.
Yeah.
Got to do that.
It's good.
It's good stuff. So, hey guys,
Hey,
you want to talk about something that's not Spider-Man?
I mean, I can talk Spider-Man.
You can, but do you want to?
Well. I feel like I've like talked about. I mean, we had fucking Tom DeFalco on.
Yeah.
We were talking about because he wrote like Maximum Carnage and the Clone Saga, and so it was cool having him on the show.
That Genesis game.
Yeah. I had. Do you have the follow-up Separation Anxiety?
Ooh, I don't. I need to get all the Sonic, Spider-Man Genesis games.
The Spider-Man game that changed the course of my life forever.
Yeah.
And I've since every Spider-Man game. I haven't beaten everyone ever made.
Right.
But everyone since that I've bought, I've beaten because Spider-Man on Game Gear Return of the Sinister Six is one of the hardest games of all time. And I've never been able to beat it because you have, I think, 2 lives and that's it.
Oh,
and like it's shitty mechanics where like
It's like Double Dragon 3.
you like duck down and you'll be going like this to hit somebody and it's just going through them.
Oh my god!
And the music, like when you die, I'm like fuck you, like, and you have to kind of get like glitch out Electro to beat him, and Mysterio is really hard. The Sandman, the Sand level is really hard. I think the farthest I got was Mysterio, but I think it's like 3rd or 4th. But it's a really tough game. Anyway, and since then it's just like every Spider-Man game, like the one on N64, which was great.
You know that's the inferior version, right?
With the N64 one?
You need to check out either the PlayStation or the Dreamcast ones because those, instead of having comic book pages, they had videos.
Oh, really?
Of the cutscenes.
Nice. I like the fucking Rogues Gallery playing cards in the jail. It's funny shit.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that was the first game I remember you can get different outfits, which is so great with Spider-Man.
It's like, what's this quick change thing? I want to read this comic with the quick change thing.
Pretty great.
Or Cosmic Spider-Man. That's the first exposure I had to
Captain Universe.
Captain Universe.
Yeah.
It's a great look.
From the 80s. I've been watching Chef's Table.
Ooh.
Chef's Table!
More than meets the eye.
You'll get caught up in the
Chef's Table!
Yeah.
Let's make filet mignon! Filet mignon, go!
It's like the most...
Mashed potatoes! Mash!
Have you guys ever seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
I just brought down the entire room. Talk.
I'll address the person that hasn't seen it first.
Oh, okay.
It's a really good documentary about this dude that is his entire life is dedicated to the art
He's
of
like
making
the
sushi.
master.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It's created. Chef's Table is a Netflix original series created by the same guy, David Gelb.
Oh.
3 seasons. 3rd season just premiered last week.
Is it scripted or is it a reality?
documentary, man.
Documentary. Cool.
And it's like
cool,
just
cool,
these
cool.
people all around the world making like something as elementary as fucking preparing food, and they've elevated it to art. But they're not like, for the most part, they're not like dick bags.
All right, that's good.
At any point, does anyone say the sush is loose?
I haven't finished the series yet, but I can tell you that through the first 2 seasons, that has yet to happen.
I'm gonna work that in something.
I watched the season 3.
I mean, it's from the league. But
I watched the
we
season.
can pretend I made it up.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just calming. I just saw the season 3 premiere last night, and it's just like
It's funny you say that because in the new Hulk comic book, which is She-Hulk, they just
Yeah, it
currently
is.
Bruce is dead. Her way of calming down is she watches cooking videos on YouTube.
Aw.
That was like what her therapist told her. So there's a great moment where she's about to Hulk out, her eyes turn green, she's starting to like rage, and she like runs back to her apartment real quick and puts on YouTube, and like she hits the button so hard it cracks the screen, and then she just sits there and you just see her like slowly calm back down watching cooking videos.
That's awesome.
Which is true. I watch cooking stuff all the time. I love watching
Yeah.
food. I just love watching people make food. It's great.
you should watch Chef's Table.
Never.
Never in a million
I'll check it out.
years.
Yeah.
I'll check it out after Orphan Black.
Yeah. But yeah, so Chris, you do anything interesting?
No, not really. Not other than watch
Highlander. Yeah.
Well, you should watch Darkman with me. Maybe that'll wash your palate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be
Darkman.
Speaking of wonderful Sam Raimi superhero movies.
I love Sam Raimi, man.
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool dude. Cool dude. I mean,
Based on his work, sure.
Yeah, sure.
I've yet to meet the man.
He's from all accounts, he's an extremely nice gentleman, from what I've heard.
Always very well dressed.
His
He
brother,
is. Yeah, he takes it very seriously.
his brother thinks highly of him.
Paul, yeah. Well, him and Paul Feig always wear from like Bridesmaid fame. Always wear like suits to when they're on set
Yeah.
because they're like it's a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were taught to dress up for work.
It's like back when football coaches used to wear suits.
Yeah.
Ah.
Instead of
Like
being
Vince Lombardi.
dickheads.
Yeah.
Or cheeseheads. What?
Speaking of Vince Lombardi, yeah.
But yeah, well, thanks again to Brian Buccellato, Jennifer Young, and Matias Bergara for coming on the show. Again, Cannibal Volume 1 out in comic book shops everywhere on Wednesday, March 8th. Check it out. This has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Ken.
Fried chicken.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual Catching Up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.